Hello and welcome to another episode of Camposol Through Time. This week we're taking a look back at how the Civil War and the transition to peace affected people in the area, and in particular the family of our very own historian and time traveller Antonio Hernandez Benitez. Antonio,
hello.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
I've got a feeling this is going to be a very personal episode for you.
Oh yes,
because
sure.
Your family have lived around here for many, many years. We spoke about them before in different shows.
Exactly.
But today, what we're going to look at and what you've agreed to talk about is their experience going through the Civil War in the 30s and then coming out of the other end and how it affected them. Because there was also divisions and there was different opinions and people getting treated very badly and some people getting rewarded. So where do we start?
Well,
the war itself. Just 20 seconds on what the war was when it was.
Well, the war started in 1936, ending in 1939. And basically, Spain was divided in two sides, the Republicans and the national side, which was the leader on the national side, it was Franco, and in the Republican side, it was supposed to be a Republican, democratic republic, but it was actually the Soviet Union, the one who was supporting more the Republican side, okay? So this area was the last one to surrender, actually, to Franco. Actually, Cartagena is going to be the last city to be taken over by the national troops, okay? And my family around here, actually, obviously they were in the Republican side, okay?
Okay, they were the democratic side.
Yes, well, somehow.
Kind of, yeah.
Kind of, okay? Well, like, my grandfather didn't take part in any battle or anything like that. He was basically a builder. He actually was building the different pillboxes that they are actually not far from Camposol, in El Paredón and Alama and so on.
I've seen the ones on the motorway going down
exactly.
if you're coming from Fuente Alamo, you go down the hill, and they're I think on both sides.
On both sides, yeah. Actually,
as you go into
there was a big line of trenches and different pillboxes and so on, from Carrascoy Mountain to nearly Aguilas.
So that was a natural sort of, is a geological defence line as well, because there's a natural ridge going right across there, isn't there?
Exactly.
And that was the Republicans defending against the nationalists coming in from Alama Totana,
exactly.
That sort of way.
Just in case they were trying to take Cartagena from this side, okay? But the family of my grandmother, they were actually with the Labour Party and the Labour Trade Union. And they're the ones in Fuente Alamo area and a little bit of this area as well to get things for the army, for the Republican army. Okay, so they used to go into the houses and they tried to take food or whatever they have to supply the army. Okay, and as well they were in charge of eliminating people. Okay, they used to have lists of people who were supposed to be on the Franco side, and they were suspicious for different reasons, because they were Catholic, because they were
Catholic.
Yes.
Because I was always under the impression that Catholicism throughout Spain was pretty prevalent and I didn't know that it
well, especially at the end of the war, in the Republican side, it's turning more into a communist republic. So the faith or the religion is going to be forbidden. So majority of things are going to be, majority of the churches, they will be burned, or majority of the statues, they will be destroyed. Majority of things for Easter as well, they will be destroyed. And actually my family was, well, the family of my grandmother, they were actually looking for those people who used to take part of Easter, or used to be friends of the priest, or they used to go to church, or they used to have a single cross in the house. For instance, there was in Los Cánovas one case that someone has a cross in the house and he was executed for that reason. Okay. So it was quite common. It was very cruel days. Okay. In the other side, in the Franco side as well, there will be plenty of repression as well, looking for enemies, you know, when they were conquering. And actually, I have family in both sides, because my grandmother here, she was in the Republican side, but my mom is from Madrid. Okay. So my grandmother, she was in Madrid during the Spanish Civil War, and when Franco is taking over Madrid, my grandfather, he was loyal to Franco. He was actually into the Falange party, which was the political party that actually Franco will use during 40 years of dictatorship. And he was really into those ideology, and he met my grandmother over there. So This is where my family is coming from, somehow, the mix of both sides, okay?
I'd imagine, because the geography of the war wasn't clear, it wasn't like a line north-south, it was kind of all over, wasn't it? There was no sort of front line as such with
there were
the
different lines in different particular areas, but it was not a war like in the First World War, where you have a specific line, okay? The line was moving on, especially the troops, they were looking into different cities as well.
So you probably get a lot of families where they will have this mixed heritage of Republican and
millions of families in Spain. Both they were divided because you were living here, for instance, and here they were the Republicans, and probably you are Catholic, okay, and you are not agree with what they are doing, so you are the enemy for them, and you are thinking like they will kill you. So plenty of people, they try to escape to the other side. And exactly it used to happen in the other side. So plenty of people, they used to try to exchange the front. And as well, some families, they were divided. So they have, your brother was in the other side. And your brother was telling you, come here with me. And but it was very chaotic sometimes, okay, for the families.
So the period after the war then, when Franco had won, and it was now his way and no other way, you had people loyal to him, and you had people that obviously they'd had to surrender and were probably still against him.
Exactly.
And within families. So how did people move on? How did your family, sort of as a network at the time, move on from that? Acceptance, was it, or was it just realizing you didn't talk to him anymore? Or?
Well, first of all, my grandfather here in this area, he was in jail for 5 years, because he was a builder. Okay, so he was lucky that he's not being executed, okay, by Franco. So he was in jail, and my family over here, the same as majority of the families.
So, sorry, just to go back on, he was lucky he wasn't executed,
exactly.
So he got a 5-year prison term for being a Republican.
Exactly.
Whereas if he wasn't a builder, he would have been executed.
Probably.
And it's because he had that skill then they kept him alive so that he could help with obviously the rebuilding of Spain later on. They had to punish him, but they had to keep him alive.
Normally, both armies, they used to have different lists of people that they were looking for, okay? The surname of my family was in this list, because of the relatives of my grandmother, that they were in charge of different things, of the trade union or political parties in Puente Alamo area. So that's why they were looking for every single member of the family. Obviously, in those days, everyone was in the army, because it was compulsory. You have to. You have to serve your country in whatever the side, okay? It doesn't matter if it's Franco's side or the Republican side. So some people who were accused of having, they used to call it blood crimes, they were executed, or political crimes. For instance, the first persons they were looking for to kill when they were taking over a town was the mayor and the police officer and everyone who was in the council.
And then they could replace, obviously, with
yes,
their
they
own.
will replace with the new ones. And they will be under the Franco law, obviously. Okay, so all around this area, because we were the last ones to surrender, people they couldn't use the Republican money. Okay, so anymore, the Franco says like it's not valid. He will not exchange it. So my grandmother, all the savings for many years, he have to burn it, because otherwise he can be accused of being a Republican and probably go to jail. Okay.
So to burn them at their own money, all their savings.
All the savings.
Because it didn't have Franco's picture on it. Did he have his picture on the money?
On coins.
On coins.
On coins.
But literally because they had different types of money for Republican.
All the money that it was not from the Franco side, it was not valid at all.
Yeah.
You were not able to exchange it. So, and if you have it, somehow it's a proof that you were collaborating with the enemy.
With the Republicans.
Okay, so that's why my grandmother, for instance, have to burn everything. Okay.
So what did you do for work and what did they do for earning money to feed?
It was very difficult because somehow in the Franco side, people used to get ration books. Okay, my family, for instance, around here, they refused to give it a ration book because my grandfather was in jail, so he was a Republican. So automatically, if your father was Republican, you are a Republican. Okay.
Yes, of course.
So all the family will suffer a punishment.
But after the war, you had ration books that were available to the nationalists.
First of all, for them, yes. Later on, it will be for a majority of the population. At the beginning, no. At the beginning, my family didn't get anything at all.
How long did rationing go on for?
Until the 50s, late 50s.
Late 50s, so about 20 years.
around 20 years.
Because you've got here...
Yes, one of my collections.
One of your collections. This is an actual ration book.
Yes.
And
this is actually from Zaragoza, from the north of Spain, from the national side, from the Franco side.
So you can see on this, we've got, right here, we've got, what's that, rice?
Rice.
That's at
a
the
cup
bottom
of,
there.
a
Let's
cup
slide
of
it up.
rice.
So what else we got?
Lentils, oil.
Lentils there. I've done this for a while. Trozo de pan.
A piece of bread.
A piece of bread.
So there is not even a measure. It's just,
So it's just a piece of bread.
Exactly.
That is fascinating. Bonitos.
So for instance, my grandfather, the one who
Trozo
was...
de queso. Piece of cheese.
A piece of cheese.
So was this like for a week? Or was it for a period of time? You'd have all this and you took it along and they'd tear it off and that was your payment?
Well, it was, there was a particular, depending on the family, and depending of, because there was controlled by the political party of Franco, by the Falange mainly, and the Catholic Church. So they used to determine if it was weekly or monthly or different other periods of time.
Now, with these, would you still have to pay for the food, but this is limiting you to the amount you could have? Or was this payment for the food?
This was free.
This was payment for the food, the little tickets?
Exactly. You give the ticket and they give you the food.
Oh, okay. But that was only available in the start to your grandmother's side on the nationalist
For
side?
instance, my grandfather, the one who was fighting with Franco, he didn't have a family yet. What I mean is like he didn't have a wife or anything like that, but he was able to get those things and gave it to my grandmother. Right. It was, in those days, it was her girlfriend, no? his girlfriend, and he used to give the ration books to his girlfriend, and the family was able to survive with that.
And everybody got through it eventually.
Most people.
Most people. But the actual living day to day, apart from the food and the rationing, was very different once Franco was in charge. As far as the day-to-day rules, how strict they were with the laws.
Think about in the beginning of the Franco period, they will try to survive with whatever they have in Spain. Okay, this is until really the 50s. And the system economically is not going to work because basically what they're trying to do is concentrate the crops. For instance, I mean, if you're growing cereals, you have to sell it to the state, and the state will tell you the price. Okay, so for instance, they will give you €1 per kilo. One example. Okay, but majority of the farmers, they knew that they will get more profits. Okay, in the black market.
If they sold it direct to somebody rather than going through the government.
So around here, especially in many areas in Spain, but especially around here, there used to be a black market called with an Italian name. It was Estraperlo.
Estraperlo.
Estraperlo is a black market where people, they used to exchange things because they didn't have money to buy anything. Okay, so if you have olive oil, you don't want it to give it to the state because they are going to pay you really nearly nothing. So what you do is you give half of what you have, you give it to the state, and the other half you keep it for yourself, and you exchange for something else.
So the state will, are they going to know, but just not say much about it, as long as you give them something every year?
Obviously,
are they aware of this, or are they coming down on the black market and saying no?
They knew, and actually it was very difficult to control for the state because they knew they saw how the production in the whole Spain was going down.
So they knew they were doing it. Yeah.
Obviously, they knew it was not only one or two persons. Actually, it was something general that people used to do.
Yeah.
Okay, and plenty of people went to jail for that reason. I remember I used to have a neighbor in Los Cánovas who was in jail for over 10 years for doing this, because he used to take the train, go to Granada and exchange things in Granada and come back by train. So the police one day they stopped him and they asked where all those things are coming from and he ended in jail. And we are talking about, it was olive oil and flour and basic things. We're not talking about drugs or anything like that.
No.
Okay. But it was very difficult times, obviously, for all the families around here. Well, all around Spain, but especially around here.
Yeah, this is quite modern history as well, isn't it? We're talking about. Well, when did Franco finish? 70s, was it?
75.
75.
Is when he died, actually.
He died, and he was still obviously in power up to the point he died.
Oh, yes.
Would you, obviously coming out of the war is very strict, like you said, on rules and taxes and rations and things. When did it start to ease off a bit to become more of a normal life? Because it wasn't all oppression for everybody under Franco up until 75.
No, it's actually right at the end of the 40s after the Second World War, really is when everything started to change in Spain. Okay, they got different agreements, especially with United States. Okay, so in 1950, Spain is actually joining the United Nations, and is getting plenty of support and help from the United States. And with that, not only the Navy or the Army or the Air Force is coming, majority of things from the supplies of the United States. It's actually food and plenty of investment as well.
So it started to turn a corner, even when Franco was still in power. Spain started to feel more positive.
Oh yeah, for sure. And the economy started to rise, and it's a big development actually of the cities in Spain, and the industry, jobs, and so on, and the quality of life improved as well. Okay.
Do you still find, just finishing on this note,
Yes.
do you still find today, even in sort of 2025, we're in now, some of the older generations will still have their allegiances to Franco or to the Republican and still remember those times? And would they still talk about it, or is it something that they just...
No, they talk about it. I mean, the generation of the ones who are actually were involved in the war, actually nowadays they are not with us, okay? But it's actually the generation of the children of the after the war, you know, the generation of my parents. And majority, they talk about that, okay? They talk how they, and especially my parents, they compare how the childhood was, how poor they were, how they used to struggling, how they used to have like even illnesses because of the lack of food, and so on, and how was their life actually when they were young, how different was. When they talk about that, it's like two completely different Spains. You know, like my parents, they're talking about, my father, for instance, he was talking about here, like there was no hospitals, there was no electricity, no water supplies, nothing at all. And then they're talking about the 70s or the 60s, you know, people driving a car.
And the difference over a period of 25 years,
years, it's huge.
It's phenomenal change.
So majority of this generation, the majority of this generation, or many of them, they are pro-Franco actually. When you talk with them, they don't like the situation nowadays. They don't feel comfortable with the life.
But they remember that positive change.
They remember this.
Put it down to Franco being in charge. And
some other people of this generation as well, they're actually right the opposite. You will not find, with Franco in this generation, you will not find, I'm going to say an example that you will understand perfectly because you are British, okay? And sorry, don't get me, I don't want to offend anyone, okay?
Sure,
but the figure of Franco in the history of Spain is like the figure of Margaret Thatcher in United Kingdom.
Yeah.
When I ask to a British person about Margaret Thatcher, they will tell me, oh, they love it or they hate it. But very few, they will tell me something in the middle.
Yeah, I don't mind.
You know what I mean? Like,
no, I
white
understand
or black.
You're not
comparing. You know, but not gray or blue or green or something.
Yeah.
With Franco, it's the same. You talk with some people and they will say, oh, he was black, no good.
Yeah.
And the other one, oh, he was the best.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's something like very similar.
No, and I do understand you weren't comparing Margaret Thatcher to Franco.
Sorry for the comparison, but you know,
she was a polarizing figure. She was a polarizing figure, a bit like Boris Johnson was. Some of the and today Donald Trump is. Exactly. You won't find anybody, I don't think, that's going to say, yeah, I could take him or leave him. Exactly. Most people say he's great.
Black or white, he's something like.
Yeah, and even today people are talking about the legacy of the Civil War with Franco.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Really appreciate you sharing this because this is very personal to you today because you're talking about your family. So
thank you.
It's really good of you to do that. So thank you. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Well, I've learned loads today, as usual, on Camposol Through Time. Hope you have as well. Hope you've enjoyed the show. We'll be back at the same time next week. If you want to catch up on some of our other shows, go to YouTube and you'll find in the playlist there all of the other episodes of Camposol Through Time. Thanks for watching. Ta-da. Cheers. Thank you.